I'm here with Laura from Ontario, Canada. And Laura was in Canada during COVID, right?
I was, during the COVID regime.
The COVID regime. And she was part of the trucker convoy. The big trucker convoy they had during COVID that was all over the news. So tell us a little bit about the trucker convoy in Canada.
The trucker convoy was something that I kind of vaguely heard about on, I think, a Wednesday. And I got thinking about it, and I was putting a roof on my house. And I phoned a friend, and I said, how fast can you weld me a flagpole for the back of my truck? So by Thursday, I was on the phone with some other people, and by Friday, we had 200 trucks just from my community headed to Ottawa. And that was the point. Ottawa is the capital of Canada. It was at that point, as we went through towns, more people and more people and more people joined our convoy until there was thousands. There really was thousands. But what I noticed was all the media was filming empty streets. And there'd be 1,000 people in the street corner there waving flags, cheering the convoy on, and over there'd be 2 people. And that's where the media was filming.
So the news was showing that there was nobody at the trucker
there.
convoy.
And I actually approached one of the local CBC, is a Canadian Broadcasting Company or whatever, and it's all funded by the government, so it's all biased. And I actually approached one of the cameramen. I said, why are you filming there? There's like a lady and a kid, and there's like 1,500 people.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turned his back and walked away. So that drive towards Ottawa was about 4 hours for me. And the convoy just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and everywhere we saw hundreds of people on overpasses and thousands of people. And when we got there, Ottawa was already converged. You couldn't get in to Ottawa, to the city. So the police put us into a hotel parking lot, telling us that this would be a place where we could eventually move into the city. After about 4 hours, I kind of got the drift that they were conning us.
So they wouldn't let you into the city.
They wouldn't let us into the city.
Is that legal in Canada?
No.
No, it's not
nothing
legal.
Nothing that the government did.
Okay, good to know.
On the news, I got access to some news stations, and I saw that the newscasters were saying that we had plugged the streets of Ottawa and then we had blocked all the roads.
That's what we saw in America.
Okay.
That's what they were telling us. Yes,
Okay.
you guys were like dangerous and
Right. Well, none of us were. We're not allowed to have guns in Canada, and nobody travels with a gun in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones who have guns in Canada are farmers that use them for self-protection for their animals.
I couldn't even get a box cutter in Canada when I tried.
No.
Yeah.
It's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Only ones that have guns are the government.
Mm-hmm.
And bad guys. Anyway, what I did, because I didn't take my big truck, I took my 1-ton. And I kind of snuck out.
So you were in a regular civilian truck.
I was in a regular 1-ton pickup.
See, they told us it was all semi-trucks.
No.
We didn't even know that.
No.
Yeah.
Most of the trucks, because, it was winter time, and a lot of trucks, they don't travel well in the winter. And
Yeah.
If you don't have 4-wheel drive, you're going to get stuck, and a lot of people took their pickup.
I've been in Canada in the winter. I wish to never repeat that.
It's not nice.
Yeah, never again.
So I took my not this truck, but a 1-ton, and I had it badged, but I didn't have any FU to go on it. I had a polite way of saying it.
Yeah.
And I snuck out, and I started driving around. And I drove right into the city, and all the guys there with the trucks, some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. They had the streets all cleared. So there were trucks on each side, but they always had an emergency lane open. And if anybody wanted to get through, all the fellow truckers were moving traffic and keep traffic flowing. Anyway, what I did was I left that area. I was there for a couple hours. Did my honk honk, hurrah hurrah.
So basically, you drove 4 hours to be,
to be part of it.
a patriot, right?
Yeah,
a
absolutely,
patriot.
to be a part of it.
And you just drove through
Nobody
Ottawa.
had any hate in their heart.
You didn't disturb anybody. You just drove
No.
normally,
And
honked a
the
few
citizens
times.
of Ottawa, because now you got to remember, the city was locked in. All the stores were shut from the government because of COVID. But a lot of them wanted to open because you got 1 million people there. They wanted to open and get business. And the ones that did try to open, the Mounties, I guess they call them, they came in and shut them down.
And that was Canada-wide, right? The whole country?
Yeah, Canada, absolutely.
Because Canada has different provinces, if you guys don't know. Kind of like the United States, every province has its own laws.
Yeah, but that was a federal law. That was the whole country.
Wow.
So anyway, I left there, and I was going back to tell my fellow patriots what was going on. And you guys are being played. We can drive right into the city. The roads are open. Get out of this parking lot and let's go to the city, which was maybe a 10-minute drive. Well, the police started following me, and tagging me, and blocking me. As I was going one way, they were blocking me off with cruisers. They were very intimidating.
And all you were doing was driving your truck.
I was just driving my truck. They had all the highways blocked. The cops did. There wasn't a truck on the highway. Wow. They were the ones that had all the roads blocked. So if you looked at Google Maps, you saw all these red markers, highways blocked, highways blocked. There was not a single truck there. They were all cops. They blocked the roads.
And Canada wasn't putting that message out.
None
to
of that was
Americans.
on the news.
Yeah.
None of it. Even the fellow truckers who were looking at the news thought the roads were blocked with their own trucks, and there was not. I got video. I got pictures. There wasn't a truck. As far as your eye could see.
Wow.
Not a truck. It was all false propaganda by the government.
That's insane. That's socialism. That's what socialism is, right?
Then I got word that anyone involved in the truck convoy was going to have their bank account.
So they're going to freeze your bank account.
Yeah, anyone involved with the truckers convoy.
How is it possible? Because I mean, in America, like I go through Chase Bank. I don't know how they would freeze my bank account. How can they do that?
It seemed hard to believe, but they did it.
They did do that.
They didn't do it to me, but I was sure they were going to. And I have run an animal rescue, and those animals got to eat every day.
So do you know how they did that? They just communicated with the banks?
With the banks. And the banks went along with it. And they took people's money. Wow. They had $1 million GoFundMe from people donating $5, $20 to help the truckers with food and gas.
I remember that.
Diesel.
Yeah.
And they petitioned PayPal and took all that money.
Wow. Do you know what they do with it?
And no one knows. It's gone.
So they took your
took all the
GoFundMe money and froze your bank accounts because what you were doing in America we would call peaceful protesting.
It was absolutely peaceful.
Wow.
There were a lot of veterans there. And Ottawa is a really dirty city. Really
Yes.
dirty.
Can confirm.
Yeah, very dirty.
Yes.
But what those guys and girls did, they were there for 2 weeks. That's all it was 2 weeks. They had nothing to do. So they shoveled the roads. They cleaned up the garbage. They
So you were
washed
protesting,
windows.
and while you were protesting, you were improving the city?
They were bringing food in and giving it to the food banks there. Because there was more food donated than we could ever eat.
Yeah.
And there were people with trailers like
That
this.
is the most Canadian thing I've ever heard. Yeah, so we're going to protest, but while we're here, we're going to make it better.
They had a Terry Fox statue. Do you know who Terry Fox is?
No.
Here's a Canadian fellow who, he was a crippled fella, and he ran across Canada and collected money for the Cancer Society.
Wow.
And eventually he died, but he's kind of a hero, and many people died. And there's a statue there in Ottawa of him. And it's covered in pigeon shit. For probably 20 years it's been covered in pigeon shit. Those people got up there and they scrubbed it and they polished it, and it's just as beautiful as could be. But what the news saw was somebody climbing up on it and saying that they were dishonoring it. What they didn't show was that lady had a scrub bucket and a towel, and she was wiping it down, getting the pigeon shit off of it.
I always tell you guys, the news does that. News manipulation. You have to read the whole picture.
Yeah. The news in Canada is just absolute lies. Everything they say is a lie. And if this gets through to the Canada, it will definitely be censored.
So, Canada, allegedly, is socialism, not communism. We'll say it's
The
socialism.
same thing.
Same thing. But you're saying, this interview that we're doing now, if it gets through to Canadians, that the government's going to censor it.
The government will censor it.
How do they do that?
I don't know.
Do they, block out certain words? Or do they just not show it at all?
They just don't. If I send anybody something that I'm down here because I spend a lot of time in the U.S. because I love the U.S. because I love patriotism. That I mean, we do have patriots in Canada. It's just that we're overpowered by the ones that aren't.
You heard it here first, guys, because Democrats love to tell me that Canadians hate us and we all want to be Canadian.
No. The problem is, Canada used to be a majority of conservative people, but they've brought in so many immigrants, they've outpopulated us. And therefore, they vote Liberal because they get everything for free.
So what they're trying to do to the U.S., right?
It's
Open the borders.
exactly the same thing that they're doing here in the U.S. And coming from a Canadian, I can only warn my American friends, don't fall for it. Because Canadians fell for it, and we're screwed. Canada is done.
So what has been the impact on immigration for Canadians?
Well, I think I've got the numbers pretty close to correct, but the population of Canada was 40 million, which is, I think, a little less than California.
Yeah.
I think a little
Canada's not that big of a country. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big country, but most of it's inhabitable.
Yeah.
They brought in 11 million people a year.
So a country of
India.
40 million brought in 11 million immigrants a year.
A year.
Starting when?
Well, it was kind of done sneakily. Yes, people saw it, but nobody connected the dots because there was nothing announced. And it started real heavy about 5 years ago.
So about 2020.
So they're outbreeding white people. They've taken over, they're burning the churches. Almost all the Christian churches are being burnt down. They've changed the laws. They now decriminalize bestiality.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Well, I run an animal rescue. And a lot of the animals,
Criminalized bestiality in Canada.
they've decriminalized it, which means it's now illegal. And they've done that because it's a common practice in the Indian population.
And they've moved in 11 million Indian
Sheep
immigrants
and
a year.
goats and whatever. And these animals are sexually abused. And because I run an animal rescue, these animals come to me once they've been found. If they're lucky enough to get found by the authorities and they haven't had veterinarian care, they come to me, places like me.
So you've witnessed animals that have been abused in this way.
100%. 100%.
And what is the government doing about it?
Absolutely nothing.
The Canadian government just says,
It's okay.
wow.
It's okay now. It's not illegal to do that anymore. I mean, just think about it. Just think about what the government has done behind the backs of Canadian people. And Canadian people really don't have a clue. And when I tell them this, and when they come to my farm to see the animals, I'm very thoughtful people. And they go, oh, how come I can't touch that goat? Or what's wrong with her nipples? How come one nipple's chewed off? Like, looks like it's chewed off. I go, because his head's big.
Wow.
Like, it's a common practice. Sacrificing animals. I mean, different cultures do different things. We don't do it. You probably don't do it.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Mark safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's our culture does not abuse animals as a rule.
But the Indian immigrants they've allowed into Canada, they're bringing their culture with them.
Absolutely. Now, I have one. I have many goats. It's mostly goats and sheep. But I have one that has never been able to rehab, so I have to keep her, but I can't rehome her because she's not fixable.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what's your experience with the Canadian healthcare system?
Well, a lot of people think it's wonderful. I think if you were an immigrant into Canada, illegal or legal, it is wonderful. But for the Canadian residents, there's a lot of horror stories.
You think the immigrants get better healthcare?
I do.
They get treated faster?
I do. They yell louder.
Okay.
If you go into a hospital, into an emergency room, especially in the cities, not in the rural areas, of course, but in the cities, they'll be lined up out the door of Indians.
I've been to the ER in Toronto. I think I went in Quebec, which is an awful place to be. And both times, Quebec. So Quebec was really interesting. When I was there, I had a spider bite. Which, who gets a spider bite in Canada in February?
We get brown recluse spiders, yeah.
So it starts to get infected, I go to the hospital. Well, I didn't have Canadian money on me at the time, and the bill, I think, was going to be like $400. Well, in America, you go to the ER and they do ask you for payment, while you're being treated, but they're going to treat you first and they're not going to deny you. They took it out. In Canada, they said, well, you got to go upstairs to billing before you see a doctor. I said, huh? So I limped myself upstairs to billing, and they said, well, it's going to be, 400 Canadian, whatever.
If you were brown, you wouldn't have had to
I
do
said, well,
that.
I don't have that. And they said, well, we can't guarantee a doctor's going to see you. This is a commodity. If you don't pay us here in the ER, we can send you on your way to urgent care, which is a 3-day wait, meaning we didn't deny you care, but we can't promise you that you'll be seen if you don't have this money right now. A doctor can come out after you've waited for 12 hours and say, oh, you didn't pay? I'm not going to treat you.
Pretty sad, isn't it?
It was incredible. I was aghast. And I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, this isn't how America is. I said, no, you get treated, and then you figure out the details.
I've known people who, especially in the horse world, who spend a lot of time down here and they've had heart attacks and whatever. They always get treated. But in Canada, they have a thing called MAID.
MAID.
MAID. Have you heard of that?
MADE?
It's assisted suicide.
Oh.
So they just started doing it during COVID, just to clarify how Canada has become with the medical. The medical system is broke because there's so many people coming in and they don't have any money. I mean, they're not working, they're not contributing to the fund, so the medical system is broke. They have no money. So during COVID, a lot of the seniors buildings were shut down, the doors were locked, all the employees were locked out, and they left the seniors in the buildings to starve to death and die.
Wow.
That's how they controlled COVID. They just left the seniors in those nursing homes to rot and die. That's their controlled population. And it was obvious. It was obvious. There was a little town where I live where every single senior in that nursing home died. Every single one.
So how'd they cover that up? How did they make sure we didn't hear about it?
Well, they didn't even try to cover it up. They said it was COVID. Well, it was COVID. I guess.
There was
or
nobody.
starvation. I don't know.
They just left them.
They just left them. Locked the doors. So now they have this thing. If you're sick, because to get help in Canada takes a long time. You got to wait forever. There's people who want to give you a hip. They're crippled. They can't walk. They're waiting years and years and years, and most of them die before they get that treatment. People with cancer or need treatment during COVID, they got no treatment at all. Nothing.
Nothing. So you couldn't get any procedure.
Nothing during COVID. They locked the doors of the hospitals.
Well,
You couldn't get in.
I'm immunocompromised. That would have been done.
The hospitals were empty. Believe me, I was in the hospital during that time with heart condition. I had been admitted before COVID started, so they left me in there during COVID. There was not a soul in the hospital. The doors were open.
Were there nurses, doctors?
A few nurses. Yeah, a few nurses, a few doctors. But the hallways were empty.
Well, yeah, here in the
I
U.S.,
walked around naked. Nobody was there. Nobody cared.
Here in the U.S., they told us your hospitals were overrun. You
Absolutely.
didn't have beds. You didn't
I
have
was in
room.
the hospital. They were not.
Nobody.
They were not. Floors were completely shut down.
The Canadian government lied to us, guys. I'm shy for one. Am shocked. The news too. Can't believe it.
So MAID, this assisted suicide, is if you can't get help from the medical system, you can't afford to come to the States. A lot of people who can afford it will come to the States for medical care.
So Canadians are coming to America for our
because you
healthcare.
have better health care. Yes. Because it's not government funded. It's a free enterprise. You can pick and choose a good doctor.
Well, Canada
In
is
Canada, you can't
the
choose.
only socialist system in the world that doesn't also offer a private option, and that's part of the problem.
You don't.
Yeah, you
you-
only have the government.
You don't have a choice who you see. And if your doctor doesn't speak English, that's too bad. That's your problem.
So you don't get to pick your doctor.
No.
Whoa.
No. So this MAID is now becoming quite popular because people have lost their money in Canada. The dollar is worth next to nothing. It's like playing monopoly money. Jobs are dwindling. Real estate value is tanking. Their pensions are pain, they're sick, so they're choosing to commit suicide.
With assistance, and they're allowed
With
to do that.
assistance.
Do you know anybody that's done that?
2 people.
You know, 2 people.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, because I know 0.
That's
so
a lot. In
That's
just
a lot.
a year. That's a lot.
Yeah. What would you say to Americans that want socialist healthcare in America?
You're digging your own grave. You're digging your own grave. You can afford insurance, get insurance, and don't have anybody. The government is not here to help you.
The government's not my friend.
Yeah. The government is never, you've heard the saying, oh, the government's here to help you. No, they're not.
Was it Reagan, the one that said
The
something
government
like that?
is never here.
There's
to
like
help
2
you.
lies. One of them is like, with the government, I'm here to
I
help.
think Reagan made us said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The government is never going to help you. They're there to help themselves. And I can just warn people. And when I'm down here and I talk to my American friends, I don't have a lot of patience for people who don't listen. But in most cases, Republican people do listen. They listen with both ears and their heart.
And the Democrats don't?
As a rule, no.
We
They
kind of
just
already
tell me how wrong I am.
how wrong you are about the place you live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't be telling you the truth. I must be making it up.
Do you hand them out like to say, hey, well, you can come here? Swap places.
I actually, I said, I've got this beautiful 100-acre farm that used to be worth $4 million 2 years ago, and now I can't sell it for half of that. And that's another thing. Government is now taking, I forget the bill's name in the Senate, but it's past its second or third reading, and it's because it's a socialist country, they have to get money to pay for the people who don't want to work. The money is coming from us, older people who worked hard all our lives and have built equity.
Yeah.
So they're saying that we don't need it anymore. This is what the government's saying. As a senior, you don't need all that money. So they're going to take 60% of the equity of your home.
Take 60%.
60% of what you've made
Your whole life.
on your property.
On your profit.
So if you bought a house 40 years ago for $100,000 and now it's worth $1 million, they are going to take 60% of the equity, which would be 60% of the $900,000
So the government's taking 60% of the equity on your house for what?
to pay for the people who don't work.
And what benefit? Do they get like a welfare program?
With the welfare.
A welfare program.
To pay for all the money they're sending out to Ukraine.
And we have that problem
We-
too.
we
We sent
have-
money there.
We have the worst. Woke is not good.
Yeah, woke is not good.
Woke is not good.
Woke is not good.
Woke is destroyed. Wow. The U.S. When we saw that Donald Trump won, most of us cried with joy.
So,
We
Canada,
hope that he can help us.
Canada tells us that your government, your news, the news that we get from you tells us that you hate Donald Trump. So most Canadians like Donald Trump.
Most Canadians love him.
Do
We
you
don't
think-
like him. We love him.
You think most Canadians would prefer Donald Trump over who you've got in politics?
100%.
You think Donald Trump could fix Canada?
I think he could fix it in a heartbeat.
Do you think we should annex Canada? You want to be part of the U.S.?
You know why I don't think you should annex Canada? A selfish part of me would love to be part of the U.S. But you don't want what Canada has become. If you annex Canada, you're going to get all the shit that goes with it. So if you could annex Alberta, Saskatchewan,
Yes. I love both those
Manitoba,
places.
Northern Ontario, leave Toronto,
Regina.
Montreal,
We'll take Regina. Regina, no, don't hurt about
and
it.
let them wallow in their own shit.
All of Quebec. We don't want you. My ancestors are French Canadian. I think I told you this. So when I go to Canada, my last name I pronounce it a certain way in America, but a different way in Canada because the French Canadians are racist, and that's the thing people don't want to believe either.
They are very racist.
This is why her Canadians are nice. Well,
But they've always been that way.
Laura from Ontario is nice. Jacques
I
from
used
Quebec
to go
is
to
not.
Quebec to horse shows when I was a teenager, and I mean I was young and cute then. You get away with a lot of stuff when you're young and cute, but they didn't want you there.
Tabernacle.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the only word I know.
Yes, used to have a shirt that said it. The Quebecois are not, they're not a kind people. I hate to say that, ancestors, but you did something wrong with the generation too. Yeah.
Now, the U.S. they're on the right track, but don't fall for the government's going to help you, because they're not.
The government's not going to help you, moral of the story, and we don't want to be Canada. Heard it here first.